Okay, we're in the middle of June and it's getting hot here in North Texas. But the siding's on, and this is part 6 of this shed build. Let's dive in and see how it came together. Okay, going to start with paneling this north side wall using blocks and shims to get it to the right height. I'm going to go ahead and drop one nail in on this lower right hand corner. And that nail went a little deeper than planned, so just a little adjustment to the nail gun here. And then I made sure that the right side of the panel was flush with the end of the wall, and the same for the top of the panel and the top wall plate, which squared everything up. And then dropped in a second nail. And then nailing the rest of the panel, I nailed every 6 inches on the perimeter and every 12 inches on an interior stud location. And that's when my neighbor Howie stopped by to help. Now, Howie wasn't just the muscle for the day. He also had some great ideas, one of which was to stage all the paneling on the next wall of the shed. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, and we're going to continue paneling this north side wall, which is 12 feet long, and each panel is 4 feet wide, so 3 panels fit perfectly. And this is where our son Simon stopped by to help out a little bit. Fun fact, Howie's a baseball genius and helps Simon with his pitching. Okay, so this back wall is 10 feet long, which means it needs 2 4-foot panels plus a half a panel. But I'm actually going to start it with a half a panel, then the 2 full panels. When we get around to the front, it'll then be 2 full panels plus the other half of this panel. Now, because of the shiplap design on this LP Smart Siding, I wanted the cut edge to be on this right side of the wall and the shiplap edge to be on the left side of the wall. And this is where my neighbor Dave came by to help. Now, I remember watching one YouTuber say he pounded nails between his concrete and his bottom plate, which made it easy to set these panels on. I decided not to go that route because I wanted the bottom of the panel to cover just a portion of the concrete. But after installing 9 heavy panels, that nailing idea sounded pretty good. Now, fortunately, I had Howie there to provide me some moral support. Okay, then we just moved on to this south side wall, which was 3 full panels. So from a safety perspective, it was pretty warm this day, so hydration was top of the list. And then pinch points for the fingers. Of course, always wearing the eye goggles around the nail guns, and then trip hazards. Those are just the top items for the day. Okay, just moving around to the west side, which is the front of the shed where the door will be. And as I mentioned before, this wall has 2 full panels and then a half panel. Okay, then it was time to cut out the area for the door. So I started with a plunge cut with my circular saw, then used a flush trim bit on my router to cut out these areas of the panel. Then I used a handsaw to finish up where the panel overlapped the concrete. Now, before adding paneling to the gables, each gable first needed some framing. You'll notice the plastic on the roof. This is to keep all water out now that the walls are installed. I was doing this work a full 3 weeks after Howie and I finished the main siding, and my concrete's not perfectly level, so I didn't want any water pooling up on the inside of this OSB type paneling. And you might also notice the blanket I used to keep the plastic from tearing at the peak. And from there, it's simply a matter of measuring and cutting and nailing. Now, I'm not showing all of the nailing, but there were no shortage of nails used on this project. Okay, this last piece finishes up the gable for the front side. And shifting to the gable on the back side. Alrighty, then after this last corner piece gets in, the only pieces left are these 4 wedges, which will be done in the next video. And here I'm using a jig to help me put on the 2x6x12 subfascia. And on the other end, I'll put this cleat on to help me clamp the subfascia on this side. And here I'm using a 2x3 board to make sure that the subfascia doesn't interfere with the roof sheathing to be installed later. And then just repeating the process on the other side. And while I was at it, I decided to put the fascia on. We'll see in the next video why it would have been better to wait a little bit for this. And that's it. Siding's on. Thank you for watching.